think I was on my last treatment. I'd had 6 rounds of chemotherapy and I was wearing wigs or scarves at the time. And I remember thinking, oh gosh, I'm always a last minute one that arrives just as the thing goes. And I think I'm never going to get there on time. I'm not going to be able to put my scarf on. I can't run in a wig. What am I going to do? And I hadn't been out with no hair before. And I thought, oh gosh, I haven't got time to sort this out. I'm going to not get to the start line on time. Got in the car, wigged up, thought no one's going to know me. No one's seen me bald. It'll be fine. I started to walk to the start line and I heard someone call, Leonie! And I was like, oh gosh, no one's seen me bald. I haven't been out like this. I turned around and it was a fellow parkrun friend who said, how are you? And I was like, oh gosh, I didn't think anyone was going to see me. I'm really embarrassed. She was like, oh, I recognise you by your trainers. And I was thinking, I look so different that my trainers, which were yellow, identified who I was. And I just thought,
brilliant.
This is crazy. And it did make me laugh. And I ran that day and I ran the whole way, still on chemotherapy, no hair, looked horrendous. And as I was running, this really handsome, really young, really athletic, fit man ran past me. And as he did, he shouted, you go, girl, you are inspirational. And I remember just feeling this huge sob come up and I just felt so great.
Hi, my name is Michelle Lewis. 10 years ago, you'd have been lucky to see me run to the end of the road. These days, running is second nature to me. From marathons to park runs to putting my own running group through their paces. You'll often see me in suitably loud attire, getting ready to pound the pavements. And here's a secret, if I can do it, you can too. There's so many wonderful and inspiring stories in the world of running. And not just running, some of my favourite tales involve those who take to their wheelchairs, bikes or simply their own trusty feet in an attempt to get fitter, faster or just have some fun. In this podcast, I'm going to be in conversation with some of the most inspiring and fascinating of these people. Remember, it's your time, your speed, your way. The only person you need to keep up with is yourself. This week, I've been speaking to Leonie Heard, who is a Northampton park runner who was told that she had breast cancer and used running as her method to get her through the initial stages, and from that has found strength to help and inspire others.
I was quite a good sprinter at school, and I remember being in middle school and going against this girl called Kay, and me and her were looking to see who was going to be put forward for a competition, and we every time we finished exactly on the line. So I remember being quite a sprinter at school, but when it came to long distance, I remember being the girl that just kind of gave up and hid behind a bush when no one was looking. And then I didn't run or didn't do any exercise. I was quite slim as a teenager and as a young woman. So I kind of didn't feel like I needed to do any exercise. You kind of think you're going to live forever, don't you, when you're that young? And it was only when I met my husband and he was really into fitness and running that I and I'd had a baby and I thought, oh gosh, maybe I need to try being a bit fitter, and had a go at running. But it was really, really difficult for me to start with, and something that I thought, oh, I just can't run. I'm not a runner.
It sounds like you had a few years break and then suddenly decided I'm going to try running again. What happened to get you to where you were at parkrun and where we met?
Yeah, so I started to run a little bit. He taught me how to run and just kind of increase my speed. And then I realised that some of my friends were into running as well. So I started to have a group of friends that we were running with, and then realised that for me, social running was really helped me. So when I'm a lone runner, I really struggle with my impetus and my resilience, and I just kind of always feel quite and lethargic and a little bit of like a grumpy teenager, and so I struggle to keep going. But when I run with people, because I'm quite a chatter, I find that it goes really quickly. It's an opportunity to spend time with my friends, and then there'd be times where I'd think, oh, I can't run, I haven't got someone to run with, and then parkrun started up, and I remember thinking, oh, that's a good opportunity. And I think we went together as a family to start with, I can't remember, or with a friend. And I thought, wow, what a great opportunity to always know that at this time, in every given week, I'll know that there'll be somebody to run with in my community, and just really enjoyed the whole feeling of it, that kind of community, and being able to run amongst people. And that's what I need. Like I said, I'm not a lone runner.
And during that park run, was you just doing park run, or was you running in the week? Was you entering races?
Yeah, I started to enter races just to kind of give myself some focus, and I've been running for, gosh, it must be now 15 years, I think. And when I think back to, it's been a slow process from sort of doing a little 5k, and I remember doing the Northampton 10k when it was up at Sixfields, and that was one of the. And now when I look back, and I thought it just went on forever and ever and ever, and it was so arduous, the run. And now I think actually that I'd be quite happy to be able to do that, because then I went on to do some other little competitions, and the park one was always there to keep me going, and all sorts of strange things like wolf runs, and started to do the half marathon. And then that's when I became ill, and then that's when parkrun took on a different thing for me, really. It was just it became even more important than it ever was before.
Can you share that journey, because it's quite an amazing one, from if you can tell that week what happened, and then you doing parkrun on the Saturday?
Yeah, there was some really important times, probably about 3 or 4 times that I think really kind of poignant for me, particularly when it comes to parkrun and the cancer. So I had breast cancer in 2016, and I'd been running. I think I'd just not long finished a half marathon, so I was fit and well and healthy and confident in my running, and was then randomly, diagnosed with breast cancer. And I remember it was on the Friday. I must have been diagnosed, because I went home that night, woke up in the morning, and it was just, what a thing to wake up to, remembering what had happened the day before, and I didn't know what to do with myself. And I remembered it was parkrun, and I thought, okay, gosh, this is something that I'm going to be able to go and do and feel a part of. And so my friend picked me up. She didn't have a clue, she didn't know what was wrong with me. My friend picked me up, we went for the run, and then as I was running, I thought to myself, I was really struggling to do anything, drink, walk, sleep. And I remember thinking to myself, right, if you can't get through, because they'd already told me that I was going to need chemotherapy, radiotherapy, surgery, if you can't get through this 5k run without stopping, you're never going to get through chemotherapy, because chemotherapy would just seem like such a huge mountain to climb. And so all the way around, there's a particular photograph of me coming down the funnel, and it just, to me, really epitomises how I was feeling at that time. It's a very emotional photograph for me to look back on, and it shows real strength of my character, which I don't always tap into anymore. So I like that photograph because it's really important. And I did get round that day. I got round that day, and as soon as I finished, I hopped back into the car with my friend, and I told her that I'd just been diagnosed with cancer, and what that had meant to me. And actually she became a real true friend, more so than she ever had been from that. And I remember starting my chemotherapy, which was my first thing that I had to do. And the doctor said to me, we're going to give you this, 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 and this, and it will make you feel this, 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 and this. And I said, well, what about my running? Because I'm a runner. What do I do? And he said, well, you're going to have to really take it easy, or just listen to your body. And he said, we're going to give you steroids, and I don't really want you using those steroids to get better at running. Steroids are going to be to help you through your treatment. And I remember thinking, you can't take the running away from me, because it was such a good, nourishing thing for my mental health and my physical health. I thought, you can't take my running away from me. And then I remember slipping into this real kind of sadness about feeling like I wasn't able to get out my excess energy, because and that was something that running and it allowed me to do. And then my friend said to me, right, okay, well, I'm going to go to parkrun. I'm going to take her daughter at the time, who was still in the buggy. Do you want to help? And so we walked it, and I didn't even manage to get all the way around. I did just one lap, pushing the buggy to help me go it, because I wasn't feeling very well. And it just slowly built up from there, until one day I arrived, and I think I was on my last treatment. I'd had 6 rounds of chemotherapy. I was on my last treatment, and I was wearing wigs or scarves at the time. And I remember thinking, oh gosh, I'm always a last minute one that arrives just as the thing goes. And I think, I'm never going to get there on time. I'm not going to be able to put my scarf on. I can't run in a wig. What am I going to do? And I hadn't been out with no hair before. So I thought, okay, so I thought, what do I do? And I thought, oh gosh, I haven't got time to sort this out. I'm going to not get to the start line on time. So I got in the car, whizzed up, thought, no one's going to know me. No one's seen me bald. It'll be fine. Started to walk to the start line, and I heard someone call, Leonie! And I was like, oh gosh, I haven't no one's seen me bald. I haven't been out like this. I turned around and it was a fellow parkrun friend who said, "How are you?" And I was like, "Oh gosh, I didn't think anyone was going to see me. I'm really embarrassed." She was like, "Oh, I recognised you by your trainers." And I'm thinking, I look so different that my trainers, which were yellow, identified who I was. And I just thought,
brilliant.
This is crazy. And it did make me laugh. And I ran that day, and I ran the whole way, still on chemotherapy, no hair, looked horrendous. And as I was running, I was coming up to the last, I think it was the first time round, because it was the finishers, the quick ones are always coming along. And this really handsome, really young, really athletic, fit man ran past me. And as he did, he shouted, "You go, girl, you are inspirational." And I remember just feeling this huge sob come up. And I just felt so great that he had done that for me and that he'd said that to me at that moment. And it gave me that push from behind to keep going. And I just remember thinking, I'm going to etch those words on my heart forever, because there's times like that when you just need that little lift, from somebody who doesn't know you.
Have you ever seen that park runner since? Because does he realise how powerful his words were at that moment of time to you?
Yeah, I think I have, but I've never said anything to him. But I think I have. I think he's a regular there. He's one of the he's one of the first finishers, because I always, nowadays from there, I just think, don't let them take over. So if you can get off around that first loop without anybody overtaking you, you're having a good day.
Parkrun's not a race, Leonie, but I know what you mean. It's
not a race, but it's my own individual run. So that's my pointer. You have markers there for how well you're doing in a day, and so I'm not racing them. I'm racing my own self challenge.
So you then did you go back the next Saturday minus the wigs and the scarves? What was the?
Yeah, I don't think I ever put it back on again. I think I just thought, oh gosh, well, I'm out now. And I think I took a photograph of myself, I think, that day as well, and said, here I am, sort of thing. And just, was comfortable thinking, what, well, nobody cared, because, everybody has their own lives, and you're not the center of that. And so it was a real kind of lesson for me to learn as well, as to not be so vain. So that was a good lesson for me to learn as well. But that wasn't the end of it. That was just really the beginning of parkrun for me. And during the treatment, it continued to be a really big part, and now it's a big part of the work that has evolved since my illness, really.
So if we can move on then, so obviously you went into remission with the breast cancer. Can you just tell people the type of cancer, just for those that have got it, to understand?
So it was breast cancer. There's lots of different types of breast cancer, which I won't go into, but this one, they don't actually have what we call remission with breast cancer. And we have what we call no evidence of disease. So that's what you're given at the end of it, is no evidence of disease. There's lots of different types, and certain different types have higher risks of returning during different periods in your life. So we get what we call no evidence of disease, and that's a good place to be. So that's where I am at the moment, which is, what I'm really happy about. So I had chemotherapy, radiotherapy and surgery, and now I'm at the point where I have no evidence of disease, and I don't have any other medication, whereas some people will have medication for 10 years afterwards. So I'm not at that stage. I'm not at that place. I continued using parkrun. I continued running myself personally, and I'd only ever achieved a half marathon before my illness. And at the 2 years after finishing my treatment, I trained and was able to run the London Marathon. So for me, I became even fitter than I ever was before, and that was a really great feeling and really empowering to become more well than I ever was before my treatment, and to show that that's something that I was able to achieve myself. And I know that for me, training socially was so important that if I didn't have parkrun there, it's that I always knew every week I had something, some part of my training to be able to that would have somebody there for me to train with, which was really important.
Well, you seem to become like superwoman since all this, because you've carried on, and you've carried on, you know, raising your family. You've got how many children? You know, your husband.
Two. I've got two. Yeah, two children. I've got a husband and two children. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two
and
teenagers.
Which is even more of a challenge. And then you know, you work at a school, and then you do something else outside work as a result of this. Can you expand and talk to us about it?
Yeah, well, firstly, I'm certainly not superwoman. I just have this, for me, I struggle not to be busy. I'm not, you know, there are things that have fallen by the wayside, which maybe I've, you know, I'm good with projects. So what happened was at the end of my treatment, I realised that I'd had some amazing support, some amazing opportunities given to me by charities and local organisations. And when I spoke to other people that had breast cancer locally, they weren't aware of these things. And I thought, gosh, how can you not be aware of these amazing things that helped get me through my treatment? And I thought, wouldn't it be lovely? I had an online chat group that was a national one. And I thought, wouldn't it be lovely to be able to speak to other people that had been through cancer at the same time, or breast cancer at the same time as me, to be able to communicate, you know, confidently and feel that I could say anything I wanted to, because often the people that support you are wonderful, but if they haven't been through it, they don't necessarily understand. And sometimes you just want to be heard and not healed, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes.
So I thought, wouldn't it be lovely just to meet up and have a coffee? And I thought, to be able to do this, I need to make sure, if we're going to need some money to be able to do it, I'm going to need to make sure people know that we're bona fide and legitimate. So I started it up as a charity, and it was just supposed to be a coffee morning. That was the plan. And so I thought, we're going to need money for tea and cake. And from then on, it's just grown and grown and grown into what is Friends Northamptonshire. So it's a local breast cancer that supports people affected by breast cancer in Northampton surround. And that is where we are today. And it is huge, and it has many people. We have over 250 members and 20 volunteers that work for us, 2 patrons in our community. And we are really, really, really lucky to have the amazing support that we do from our members and our community, because without that we wouldn't be able to run.
And you're getting so big as well. And I like the fact that you're now going, you know, you are mainly women dominant at the moment, but you have started getting men come into some of your groups sessions.
Yeah, not so much. So not as such. Breast cancer is a very female cancer. Many people that will get it will be female, because we have breasts, but men also do have breast issues. So it is something that males get as well. My father had it, my mother had it, and I had it. It's my stepfather, so we're not genetically linked. So males do have it, absolutely. And we purposely made sure our logo wasn't just females, and so that we could welcome all males and females to our group, because we realised that we need to be able to support all people affected by breast cancer. But as yet, we haven't actually had a male approach us. And if we have, we've spoken about it. We know exactly how we would support them, and it would be the same ways that we support our females, because we know the importance of it, and we want to be fully inclusive. But what we have been doing, when you say the males, is that we have what we call a bolster group. So the bolster group is supporting partners of those affected by breast cancer. And so luckily we had one of our members' husbands who wanted to make a difference, and Lance Jones, he wanted to be able to help others in his situation. And we knew that we would never be able to, as the females and not the partners, be able to provide that support, because we don't understand, because we were on the other side of the fence. So for him coming forward and saying, actually, I feel this way, how about I can offer support to others? And so he's done exactly the same as we are, and he started the bolster group, which is to provide support for the partners of those affected by breast cancer. And it's doing really well. And there's been really, really good feedback. And we're so happy to be able to offer that service. And we're also starting to offer service to the families. So we had, unfortunately, before lockdown, we had a lovely family day, which we had grandparents and children and aunts and uncles all coming together, people affected by breast cancer, and in a really lovely, nurturing environment outdoors. So we really do try and look outside the box and not just see the support needed with the person that's diagnosed, because we realise it's much bigger than that.
But like you said, you've only been a few years. You're still a baby in terms of other organisations. but however, you don't just have tea and coffee. You like you say, you were doing day trips. You was doing going off, doing spa days, and coming up with loads of different activities. Now with the lockdown, how are you managing?
Initially, we were very much face-to-face group, but we have our Facebook private Facebook group where people talk, but very much what we tried to do was connections offline, and we were very lucky that we had some amazing opportunities, that where we had walks and meetings and well-being events and all sorts of things going on. We were an incredibly busy group with lots of different events, and then COVID hit, and initially we were all not for six and thought, well, hopefully this won't last long and we will still provide the support online. There was hints at what could we do offline, but we hadn't done that before, and we knew that women could still chat. But then the isolation started, and for many of them the shielding, and the shielding, yes, not just in their homes, but shielding within their homes away from their own family. And then beyond that has also been for those people that have had secondary diagnosis, also some of them have had their treatment stopped. So we have, because of the difficulty of them continuing their treatment versus the danger of them going in versus, what's going to be best. So we really have a huge amount of people that need that little bit extra. So thank goodness for Zoom, which is the new buzzword. We have been able to provide pretty much, apart from our walks, all of our services still through Zoom. And what we did is we went out to a lot of our providers, service providers, and said to them, can we still do this? Are you interested in doing it? And they were like, absolutely. So we've been working really hard with our partners, and it's been really lovely because we've developed a different relationship with them. We've been more creative. I think everybody in the world has had to become more creative at the moment as to how we continue life behind doors. Yes. But it's been amazing. We have an incredibly busy timetable, so much so that I'm struggling to do my uni work at the moment because I'm so busy on BFN, because I'm really finding it great to be able to access all these services as well. So we have 3 personal trainer sessions from Overpower, and Dan is fantastic. He really gets us motivated and strong. And so we have that 3 times a week. We have Pilates, which is wonderful. We have yoga for our secondary, so they have 2 sessions a week for our secondary ladies because they need specific time away from the main group as well. They need that additional support.
Yes.
We have mindfulness, which is new, from Lemonkind, which is lovely, an opportunity to work with her and work with how we're feeling and giving us resilience and strength. And the other one, which I really like, is our community courtyard, is we have bedtime stories. And that's really good fun. So we get to sit and listen to someone else read a story, because when I was under treatment, I found it very difficult to read a book. And if people are stressed emotionally or unwell physically, it's really difficult sometimes to take that time out to sit and read a book. So instead, she reads to us. And it's really lovely and really relaxing. And then on top of that, we also have art sessions. So we have art therapy, which we started this week, which was wonderful. And the families can get to join in on that. Obviously, we have our bolster group, which is our male support. And then we have weekend entertainment. So we have bingo, quizzes. And we had, this week, we had one of the cards. We had a magician from, like a card magician from Britain's Got Talent.
I did see that. Amazing.
It was great. It was
and
great.
You had a great attendance as well. You're not just getting 1 or 2 at each one. What I'm seeing from your Facebook posts, you're getting at least 10, 20 each time.
There was 20 last night that came along. So for us, a lot of it is getting people to use Zoom and make sure that they've got the confidence to use it, or also whether they've actually got the resources to be able to use it.
Yeah, the technology.
The technology to be able to use it. So but what has been really interesting is we've been looking at how popular these services are, and actually saying, when we go back out into the wide world and we get our face-to-face back again, we're actually going to continue some of this work, because we can see the importance of those that can't come out of their homes. We'll still be able to support them within their homes. So we're really going to be looking at how the the meetings have worked online, and how we can then continue with that moving forward. So we give additional services. So we do pride ourselves on being a homegrown, organic charity, that we meet the needs of those, our current cohort. So what do they need, as opposed to thinking this is what others are doing, this is what we should be doing. We like to listen and watch and grow from there. And what's interesting is the majority of the people that actually work for us voluntarily have come up themselves. They came to us for support, and now they're supporting others, which is really, really humbling.
So how do you feel before the lockdown? It would have been Northampton Parkrun's first birthday with the 5K Your Way, the Move charity. How did you find at Breast Friends, because you are our biggest attendees and supporters of that, how did you find to think that, wow, this is happening on our doorstep?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I just think when it first started, the 5K Your Way, I just thought, what a lovely opportunity for people that have been through treatment or going through treatment, to be able to get there and then meet up with somebody that's had a similar experience and have that extra support within parkrun. It was absolutely wonderful. I can't believe it's been a year so far, and I've been super proud of Breast Friends and those that have joined and those that have then become kind of volunteers within that. So obviously you have your volunteers within parkrun, but then we have our kind of volunteers within Breast Friends, and it's the range of people that we have. You know, I've got 70-year-old women, I've got women that have severe arthritis, that have secondary cancers. You know, I have families that come along. We have people under treatment. There's such a range of women, and I always think to myself, gosh, when you wake up in the morning, you think, well, I can't be bothered to go for a run. I remember them, and I think you absolutely can, even if you just walk it, or if you just get part of the way round. You know, I remember one of our women said, oh, I'm always last, you know, I'm the loser. And it's like, no, I always feel like the person that's, you know, I don't know the expression, but the loser is the one that just didn't bother coming out. Everybody that there is an absolute winner because they came out, and you never see somebody finishing and walking home without a smile. And that's what lifts me. And I see our group getting bigger and bigger and bigger at 5K Your Way, and the relationship that they're building up with them is brilliant.
There were 16 the last count. It was the last time before we went into lockdown. Amazing. For me, the best memory, and it's one of my best park run memories, and it was the very first 5K Your Way, was you were saying about the story with you and the wig. One of your ladies, after she'd done park run, and even before at the start, because everyone meets at the basketball court at the beginning, was saying, oh, I'm not going to get all the way round. But when she crossed that line, she flew her hat off, and like, there's this big happy face, and it was just, oh wow, it was just a very tearful moment. Even now, if I say about it, just think that parkrun has done that to someone, to make them think they are stronger than they really are, and no one doesn't care about how you look. It's just, we're all doing the same journey on that park run.
Yeah, everybody has their own reason for going there, and it's relevant to them, and it's just equally as important to each individual that goes there that day. But when you get there, it's just all judgment dropped. You know, everybody's the same. We're all there just for the same goal, which is to get round, which is to get outdoors, because we could do this on a running machine. You know, it's to get outdoors, it's to get together, it's to be in the community. You know, that race course on that day at 9 o'clock becomes the hub of Northampton, you know, and I just love it. I love the diversity, and I love the range of ages and people, and whatever the weather, it just seems just such a positive place to be at that time. And I love the race course anyway, for being the centre of Northampton. I think it's a lovely venue for us, and but on that morning it just becomes something magical. And I think, you know, it's only when people that go there will go, because they go, oh, I don't know, I can't get up, or blah, blah. And then when they've done it, they always go, I really enjoyed that was really cool. And I just think it's free, and that's the most important thing. It's provided by the community for the community, and I think things like that just should be accessed even just once, just to try it, because, you know, like I said, for me, it has so many poignant parts to my life, and it always will do. And I never went there looking for that. It just was.
So how I want to end this, if you can wrap it up, is can you let us know how can people within Northamptonshire find out about Breast Friends Northampton?
Okay, so we are all over social media. If you're not on social media, then we have our website. So it's www.breastfriendsnorthamptonshire.org or breastfriendsnorthampton.org. Now, I can't remember that because we've just chatted. I think it might be breastfriendsnorthampton.org, only because I do keep forgetting because we've changed to Northamptonshire. We're big enough, but we are on all social medias, and on there you will have telephone number, you will have email contact. Like I said, we don't just support those that have had breast cancer. We support those affected by breast cancer, and we love making connections with our community, with organisations, with companies. So if anybody thinks that they would like to get involved or like to know a bit more about us, or they have a friend or a family member, then absolutely we'd love to be in contact with you, and I'd love to for you to be able to see our services if you feel that they might be of use to you. But we do a lot of education in the community as well. So we go out to companies, businesses, organisations, and we give breast cancer awareness, which at this time is really, really important because it's very difficult to see our GP. We are raising awareness online, so please, please, please do check yourselves, males and females.